There are moments in life that remind us what love truly means. Moments when everything else falls away and all that remains is pure, unbreakable connection. This is the story of Max, a golden retriever who lost his sight but never lost hope, and the voice that brought him back from the darkness. This isn't just a story about a blind dog. It's a story about recognition, about memory, about the invisible threads that bind us to those we love, even when everything else has been taken away. Max wasn't always blind. For the first 8 years of his life, he was like any other golden retriever, joyful, energetic, with eyes that sparkled like amber in the sunlight. He belonged to a man named David Torres, a firefighter in Portland, Oregon. David had adopted Max as a puppy after his own father passed away, needing someone to come home to after long, difficult shifts. They were inseparable. Max would wait by the window every evening, watching for David's truck to pull into the driveway. The moment he heard that familiar engine, his tail would start wagging so hard his entire body would shake. They had their routines. Morning runs through the park, weekend hikes in the Columbia River Gorge, and every night, without fail, David would sit on the floor, scratch Max behind the ears, and say the same thing. "You're a good boy, Max, the very best boy." Max's entire world revolved around David's voice, David's presence, David's love. But life has a way of changing everything in an instant. It started with Max bumping into furniture. At first, David thought his dog was just getting clumsy with age. But then Max started missing his food bowl, walking past his favorite toys, hesitating at doorways he'd gone through thousands of times. The veterinarian's diagnosis was devastating: progressive retinal atrophy. Max was going blind, and there was nothing they could do to stop it. Within 6 months, Max's world went completely dark. The change in Max was heartbreaking. The once confident dog became anxious and withdrawn. He would stand in the middle of the room, disoriented, whimpering softly. He stopped playing, stopped running, stopped being the joyful companion David had known. David did everything he could. He learned about caring for blind dogs. He kept furniture in the same places. He bought textured mats to help Max navigate. He spoke constantly, narrating everything so Max could follow his voice. But despite David's efforts, Max seemed to be fading, not just losing his sight, but losing himself. And then came the accident that changed everything. On a cold February evening, David responded to a 4-alarm warehouse fire. The building collapsed. David was trapped under debris for 6 hours before rescue teams could reach him. He survived, but barely, with severe injuries including a fractured spine, broken ribs, and significant smoke inhalation. His vocal cords were damaged. The doctors said he might never speak normally again. David spent 3 months in the hospital, followed by 2 months in a rehabilitation facility. During that time, he couldn't care for Max. His sister Rachel, who lived 3 hours away in Seattle, agreed to take Max temporarily. Rachel loved Max and did her best, but Max didn't understand. All he knew was that David was gone. The voice that had guided him through the darkness, the presence that had made him feel safe, vanished without explanation. Max stopped eating. He would lie by the door for hours, waiting. His tail, once constantly wagging, hung still and lifeless. Rachel would call David in tears. "He's not okay. He's giving up." David was devastated. but he could barely speak. The damage to his vocal cords meant his voice came out as a strained, hoarse whisper. Nothing like the clear, warm tone Max had known. The doctors said with therapy, his voice might improve, but it would take time. Time Max might not have. 5 months after the accident, David was finally cleared to go home. Rachel offered to bring Max back the following weekend, but David couldn't wait. Despite his sister's concerns, despite still needing a cane to walk, David insisted on making the 3-hour drive to Seattle himself. When he arrived at Rachel's house, his heart was pounding. Rachel brought Max out to the backyard where David was waiting. Max looked thin. His golden coat had lost its luster. He walked slowly, carefully, his blind eyes staring at nothing. David's throat tightened. His dog looked so different, so defeated. And David's voice, his damaged, changed voice, would it even matter? Rachel guided Max to the middle of the yard and stepped back. David stood 20 feet away, leaning on his cane, and tried to speak. What came out was rough, raspy, barely above a whisper. "Max!" The dog's ears twitched, but he didn't move. David tried again, his damaged vocal cords straining. "Max, it's me, boy." Still nothing. Max turned his head slightly, confused by this unfamiliar sound. David's eyes filled with tears. His worst fear was coming true. Max didn't recognize him. But then David remembered something. Not the words themselves, but how he'd always said them. David took a shaky breath, and despite the pain in his throat, despite how different his voice sounded, he spoke the words he'd said 1,000 times before, with the same rhythm, the same cadence, the same love. "You're a good boy, Max. The very best boy." For a moment, nothing. And then, Max's entire body went rigid. His ears shot forward, his head lifted, turning toward David's direction with an intensity that took everyone's breath away. And then Max's tail began to move. Slowly at first, just a twitch, then a wag, then a full, powerful sweep back and forth. Max started walking toward the voice, then trotting, then running in a way Rachel said he hadn't done in months. He didn't run straight. Blind dogs rarely do. But he ran with purpose, following that voice. That changed, but somehow still recognizable voice, until he crashed directly into David's legs. David dropped his cane and fell to his knees, wrapping his arms around Max as the dog jumped, spun, whimpered, and wiggled with joy. Max's nose pressed everywhere. David's face, his hands, his chest, confirming what his ears had told him. This was David. His David. His person. Rachel stood watching, tears streaming down her face as Max licked David's face over and over, his tail wagging so hard his entire back end swayed. David buried his face in Max's fur, his damaged voice breaking as he whispered, "I'm here, buddy. I'm here. I never stopped loving you." And Max, blind, thin, broken Max, was suddenly alive again. That was 8 months ago. Today, David's voice has improved significantly with therapy, though it will never be exactly what it was. But Max doesn't care. He would know that voice anywhere, in any form. They're home together now. Max has gained back his weight and his confidence. He navigates their house with ease, following the sound of David's footsteps, the timbre of his voice. Every evening, David sits on the floor, scratches Max behind the ears, and says the same words he always has. And Max's tail wags like it never stopped. Because here's what Max taught David, and what David wants everyone to know. Love doesn't live in what we can see. It lives in what we recognize. in the sound of a voice that means home, in the presence of someone who never gave up, in the invisible bond that connects souls across time and distance and darkness. Max may be blind, but he sees David more clearly than anyone else ever could. David and Max still go on walks every day. Max with his careful, measured steps, David with his cane. Two survivors helping each other heal, two best friends who found each other again in the darkness. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe for more stories of love, resilience, and hope. And if you have a pet, go give them an extra hug today. Tell them they're a good boy or a good girl. They'll always remember your voice, even in the darkness.